The Supreme Council of Antiquities was a department of the Egyptian Ministry of Culture from 1994 to 2011. It was the government body responsible for the conservation, protection and regulation of all antiquities and archaeological excavations in Egypt, and was a reorganization of the Egyptian Antiquities Organization, under Presidential Decree No. 82 of Hosni Mubarak. In January 2011, it became an independent ministry, the Ministry of State for Antiquities. The first government body was the Department of Antiquities, established in 1859. This became the Egyptian Antiquities Organization in 1971. The Secretary-General directed the SCA through the Administrative Council. He answered to the Minister of Culture. The SCA was the only agent permitted to restore or preserve Egyptian monuments. It defined the boundaries around archaeological sites and required foreign archaeologists working in Egypt to report all discoveries and finds to the SCA before publication. This somewhat controversial rule led to the expulsion of some archaeologists from Egypt, but reduced the theft of archaeological finds dramatically and notified the authorities to set up security around new finds. The SCA was also responsible for the recovery of antiquities previously stolen or illegally exported from Egypt. Between 2002 and 2008, it retrieved 3,000 artifacts. It became embroiled in a dispute with the Egyptian Museum of Berlin over the bust of Nefertiti, which it claimed was removed from the country by deceit. Previously it had asked for the return of the Rosetta Stone from the British Museum and the Dendra Zodiac from the Louvre. Those who serve to preserve antiquities are in charge of the conservation and preservation of antiquities, as well as research, and often give interviews and report on discoveries and work being done. In the 21st century, they also face the difficult task of keeping monuments safe from a fringe of Islamist radicals who want the destruction of pharaonic monuments. Their official titles, depending on the years they served, have ranged from Director to Director General to Chairman to Minister. The position may entail also, as was done by Zahi Hawass for many years, to stimulate tourism to Egypt with charm and charisma. Syed Tawfiq was an Egyptologist who served from 1989-1990, when the body was called the Egyptian Antiquities Organization. At the end of 2011, Dr. Mohammad Ibrahim Ali was named Antiquities Minister, and he promised to give new life to the body by bringing in young archaeologists and restarting projects which had been put on hold. In the 1850s, Auguste Mariette made discoveries at Saqqara and revived an interest in Egyptology. The government of Egypt was keen to tap the skills and the publicity Mariette could bring to the country and created the post of conservator for him. Mariette needed little persuasion in any case, and brought his family with him. The following year, in 1859, the Department of Antiquities was created, a respected body that would endure for more than a century. Mariette's organization did not always place the welfare of Egypt and the Egyptians at the top of its priorities. The prestige of France, if not of Mariette himself, could seem equally important to him. Nevertheless, he did provide the infrastructure that was required, and his energy and determination gave the body the strong foundation of an identity and a credibility. Mariette was followed by Gaston Maspero as Director General of the Excavations and Antiquities of Egypt, and his big achievement was his examination of the mummy of Ramses II, found in 1884, in the presence of the Khedive and other high dignitaries. The mummy of this great conqueror was well preserved, revealing a giant frame and a face expressive of sovereign majesty, indomitable will, and the pride of the Egyptian King of Kings. He then unbandaged the mummy of Nofretri, wife of King Ahmoses I of the 18th dynasty, beside which, in the same sarcophagus, had been discovered the mummy of Ramses III. The physiognomy of this monarch is more refined and intellectual than that of his warlike predecessor, nor was his frame built upon the same colossal plan. The height of the body was less, and the shoulders not so wide. In the same season, Maspero also discovered an ancient Egyptian romance inscribed on limestone near the tomb of Sinuhit at Thebes. A fragment on papyrus had been preserved at the Egyptian Museum of Berlin. But the whole romance was now decipherable. Professor Maspero resigned his office of directorship on June 5, 1886, and was succeeded in the Superintendency of Excavations and Egyptian Archaeology by M. Eugene Grebo. In the same month, Grebo started upon the work of unbandaging the mummy of the Theban king, Sekhonera Aken, of the 18th dynasty. It was under this monarch that a revolt against the Hyksos, or shepherd kings, had originated, in the course of which the Asiatics were expelled from Egypt. The history of this king H.